Well, I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Dan Gaffney.
Here.
Michelle Ginn.
Here.
Dan Green absent. Mary Hamburg absent. Allison McFadden-Kiesling. Here. Marilyn Palmer absent. Ann Rose. Here. Julie Meredith here.
Okay. We have a brief agenda this evening. Do I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda is approved. Our call to the public.
Sorry.
I know, it's really confusing.
You got here too fast.
This spring book sale begins Tuesday, April 30th at 6 p.m. for active participants and friends. This sale opens to the general public at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, May 1st, and continues until 2 p.m. on Saturday, May 4th. We're always looking for volunteers to assist with, we'll take setup during the book sale. We of course need people at the end for cleanup. Anyone interested in volunteering can find the details regarding participation on the library website. At the annual General Friends membership meeting, which was Thursday, April 11th, the spring wish list was approved, and Brad Reuter gave us a presentation outlining the various electronic media that can be streamed or downloaded from the library.
All right, very good. Thank you. Well, we have the National Honor Society kids from the high school helping this time.
At the book sale?
The book sale. Did
I
we
have not
assist?
heard whether or not.
I think Julie Meyer was going to call them.
Yeah, that wasn't on my to-do list.
That's all right. I understand.
We have the Impact Weekend volunteers, so. And sometimes National Honor Society routes through the Impact Weekend.
Okay, that is impacting.
Yep.
That is true. Okay, very good. On the consent agenda, we have just a few items there.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion that we've been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Library statistics.
Okay. These are the March statistics. Just a couple of things that are interesting. Our downloads are up 32%. Our study room usage is up 44%. We had fewer adult programs, but we had much higher attendance, which is nice. So those are the things that we noticed. I have a few things in my director's report that relate back to specific events. So
Higher attendance is good. People can,
yeah, yep. And we're always excited to see when our downloads are growing. Those are nice services. So.
I always like these sheets where it's really spelled out for us. We can clearly see what's going on. Appreciate that. Director's report.
I have lots of stuff to tell you tonight.
It does look like it.
It's been a busy month. Okay, on April 4th at approximately 1:30 p.m. the fire alarm went off, so we evacuated the building and called 911 to alert the fire department. The fire department discovered that due to a leak in the fire suppression pipes, the system armed and set off the alarm. The fire department shut down the system, located the leak, and drained the pipes. We've been working with the fire marshal, fire inspector, and our fire suppression company to address the problems with the system due to age, as well as needed upgrades to the system because of changes in technology. And I have a further update as to how this is being addressed that will be during the meeting. Next item, because of the problems with the fire suppression system, we are also having some issues with the alarm system. Like many of the other systems, the alarm was added to the building when it was built in 1992. It has served our purposes, but we are looking into upgrades that would improve monitoring, safety, and security. At this time, the lead custodian, IT manager, and I are starting to bring in companies to allow us to investigate options so that we can potentially consider a project in the 2020 budget. basically what we discovered is that the system is wired as one. So when we were having trouble with the fire suppression system, it didn't allow us to just disconnect the fire system. And the system is old enough that rewiring it isn't really an option. So we're looking at it and saying, okay, it's time. When I brought in the consultant, he said, it's time for you to have something a little more sophisticated that breaks those out separately. It's all run by one master panel, but it's an analog system and it's very low tech. And so
It is time. That's a lot of years.
it's a lot of years, yeah. I think we've gotten our money's worth out of it. So it's probably time. Next item, I have been invited by the Library of Michigan to be part of a peer review team for Library Services and Technology Act, also known as LSTA grants. Orientation will take place in May, and the teams will meet to review grants and make recommendations over the summer months for projects that should be funded later this year. So I'm excited to be
Well,
here.
congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
That should be
Good
fun.
job.
Yeah.
This has worked so well,
Yeah,
you know, you reaching out
Yep.
and people are reaching back, and I think that really, it makes our whole library look good.
yeah.
It does. And you have all this experience to share now with everyone.
I'm excited to do it, and when they called me and said, would you be willing to do this? And I was like, yes. Yes, I can do this. Part of the reason was because we were awarded an LSTA grant last year. So they like to go to recipients, but then also I've been working with the Library of Michigan on some other things. So I was on their short list, and like my name popped up when they were trying to decide for the call. So.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
I'm
Very
glad.
good.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Next item, the library's new community relations volunteer coordinator started on Monday, April 8th. She's settling in and has already met with several other staff members, as well as scheduling meetings with the Friends of the Library to discuss volunteer recruitment and engagement. So I think she's going to be a great fit. She's getting along well with everyone already. And she's new to libraries, but not new to volunteers and community relations. So she's bringing fresh eyes to us, and we're excited about that.
That is very good.
In terms of project updates, the document retention project discussed in my March Director's report is moving along very well. The team working on the proposal, which is Erica Cloutier, Bill Bowman, and I, have reviewed our options, laid out a plan, and are finalizing details, including a timeline. We are confident that this is a project that can be completed in 2019. In addition, Bill is using this as an opportunity to review the way we are backing up all of our servers and records, and we anticipate presenting a recommendation for this document retention project at an upcoming meeting. And at that time, Bill will also be presenting a review of our current backup plan and recommending any improvements that should be considered that go along with that. So, and actually that was something that Jan had asked about, and as we started the document retention, he said this is the perfect time. So he's
Because it goes hand in hand.
Yep, he's creating a full report of everything. He's got a spreadsheet of everything that we have and what's being backed up in different ways. And it's really giving him an opportunity to look at it and say, you know, maybe these two things could be consolidated, maybe this should be done a different way, and I think he's going to find some cost savings as well, which will be nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
7 years have gone by very quickly.
It has.
This is like a new growth for the library.
It is. It's
That's a
like a
good
new,
plan.
brand new day. We're to the point where we're supposed to throw stuff, and we're afraid to get rid of it until we know what's there. So
Exactly.
Okay. I just wanted to mention that the Business Center's ribbon cutting took place on Tuesday, March 19th. We had a great turnout for this event. People were very impressed with the space, and our business librarian has seen an increase in interest in using the room by the local businesses. So it was already getting used by people who were coming in off the street saying, wow, great space, can I use it? And the businesses are calling ahead and reserving it now. So.
Wonderful.
By the way, I love the way it looks with the
Yes.
new.
With the new,
Yeah.
with the new,
Yeah.
those are like window clings. So at some point, if we get tired of it, it wasn't real expensive to do, and if we get tired of it, we can peel it off and do something different.
Yeah,
It's
it looks
nice.
really
very
nice.
It does
stylistic.
look really nice, and it gives that little bit of privacy in there.
Yeah, we can still see into the room, so we know if people are in there at the end of the night, so that we're not wondering, we're not having to knock on the door.
And for safety.
And for safety,
But
absolutely.
when you're having a meeting and your screen's up on the table, you don't really need everybody just seeing it completely.
No, and it's funny because when we were actually doing that project, we kind of went round and round about permanently etching the glass, and we decided the smartest thing to do was to leave the glass clear and give ourselves all the options instead of making it something permanent. Because we also talked about the possibility of using it in fun ways to promote different library programs and things like that. It's a big open wall.
You can
and
do
we
a
don't
lot
have-
with the sticky things.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of open walls, so.
Yeah,
and
no,
shelving and things
but it,
will
you know, it really looks nice.
Yeah, that's Trevor figured all that out with the sign company, and it was a very cost-effective way to do it, so I'm really pleased with the way that came out. He worked hard on that.
Thank you
project.
to Trevor.
Yes. Give credit where credit is due. That was all him. He figured that one out. Next item, the pieces are coming together for the building of the shed on the west side of the building. The concrete slab and sidewalk were completed in the fall. The door was delivered on Friday morning. Some of the materials were delivered this morning, and the rest are due to be delivered next Monday. Construction is set to begin next week. It is our goal to have the project completed by the end of the school year, and it looks like we should be able to do that. So
Super.
I'm very excited. It's a
exciting.
long time in coming.
It is a long time
Super.
in coming, but
Having the kids here
it's,
working.
it's such a great partnership that
It is. It really is. Today, Arlene and I went over to the company to pick out the shingles and the siding and get that ordered, and it'll all be delivered next week. So yeah, we're really excited. Should be nice. Next item, all of the materials have been ordered for the circulation office, approved by the library board last month. Later this week, we have a meeting with the electrician to go over some of the lighting and electrical adjustments that are needed. At this time, we anticipate construction will take place late in May, as we would like to have the work complete before the busy summer season. So that's another project that we've got full speed ahead.
Look forward to that also.
Yes. In terms of collaboration, our library has been part of the Oakland County Historical Resources, known as OCHR, since its formation many years ago. It is a group of libraries, historical societies, and museums in Oakland County that come together to digitize and share the expenses of providing access to valuable historical documents online. Our library has digitized the Clarkston News back to 1936, as well as the high school yearbooks back to 1926. We also photographed and transcribed many of the tombstones of the local cemeteries. Each year, OCHR hosts an annual meeting with a presenter, which our library assists in planning. This year's keynote speaker was Kimberly Schroeder, a professor at Wayne State University. She did an excellent presentation on the challenges of digitization and how to overcome them, including some tips for assessing your collection and determining priorities for deciding what to tackle first. So that was a great presentation, and I was able to attend that, and we had somebody else from the library as well. So.
And I did not know that we had photographs of some of the tombstones.
Yep. We actually have all of Case Cemetery, the little one. We have all of Springfield, is it Springfield? Sashwa Plains. Springfield Plains is right, that's
right.
Sashwa Plains. And we have most of Lakeview.
Wow.
Not the entire Lakeview, but I think we have the bulk of it. And then the Case Cemetery we actually transcribed because so many of those are so old that you can't really read them. And that was an Eagle Scout project. They came in and actually charcoaled in all of the, and then took photos, high contrast photos. And they actually did a map of where all the stones are. Because it's just a little, teeny tiny little fenced-in cemetery that's back in kind of a rural neighborhood on the north side of the township. And some of the things had been sort of moved around by people who had gone in to kind of look at it before they fenced it in. And maybe some vandalism had happened and things like that. So they spent quite a lot of time making sure all the pieces to various stones were gathered together and that. So.
That's really interesting. So visibly a person looking, other than walking, especially like Lakeview in the older section where it's so large, they could come here, look at the map, figure out where they want to go first, and then go and find.
And they don't even have to do that because OCHR is an online database. So you can actually go in.
That's true.
You can search by name,
Yeah,
and it brings the stone right up on the screen. And if it's something that's hard to read, the transcription is underneath it. So it's really neat. It's really neat.
It does sound really interesting.
Next item, the Friends of the Library book sale will take place, the main part of the book sale, from May 1st through the 4th. We have 2 collaborative efforts tied to the book sale this year. Once again, Impact Weekend volunteers will sign up to help with setup on the sale on April 27th from 9 to 2. In addition, the Church of the Resurrection, our neighbors across the street, will host a bake sale on Saturday, May 4th, and we are pleased to be able to partner with other organizations throughout the community on a variety of projects, including this one.
That is wonderful. Is the Church of the Resurrection going to have their bake sale over here?
They're going to have it in the lobby, yep.
In the lobby.
Yeah. And the last time, after they closed out their bake sale, they determined what organizations in the community will receive some of the money, and they gave us a donation. And so we put books in the children's department with plates in them. So it's a nice thing that they did.
Partnership with them.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
neighborly.
Well, and it is nice. We borrow their parking lot, they borrow our parking lot. You know, sometimes they're only open certain days of the week, so sometimes their packages are delivered here and we run them over. I mean, we need to, as you said, be neighborly.
Do that, really.
Yeah. So It's nice to have good neighbors. Last but definitely not least, the 11th Annual Teen Art Show was another huge success. We had 94 pieces of art and 490 visitors during a 2-hour gala event. First, second, and third place prizes were awarded by age group, 6th and 7th grade, 8th and 9th grade, 10th and 11th grade, and 12th grade. And that was based on public voting. We also had a jury of 3 local artists that awarded prizes based on the type of art, such as 3D, painting, photography, etc. This continues to be a fun, feel-good event that is well received by the students, teachers, and community, and we look forward to next year.
It seemed this year that we had many more visitors. At least it seemed like there were a lot more people in the library.
I don't know if it was more, it was probably about the same. I think the traffic patterns were a little different. We had about the same number of pieces of art and about the same number of visitors as we did last year.
But this was my thinking then.
Every year it feels big. You put, 500 people in this building and it feels big.
That is true.
Make it feel big. Yes.
We also had Cha Cha the Frog from Rainforest Cafe, and they did their lava cakes, which is always a
Which is good.
popular deal, so yeah.
That's very good.
Yep.
Wow.
It was a fun event, as it always is.
There is a lot of energy going on over here all the time.
We do, we keep
So
saying
much for a stuffy, quiet library.
I know. If you want a stuffy, quiet library, this one isn't it.
Nope. Look somewhere else.
Yep.
Okay. Well, next on our agenda, lawn mowing contract.
Okay, whoops, I got my, out of order.
I'm going to let Julie begin on that. And then
Yep. Okay. So at the March 18th meeting, the library board approved an RFP for lawn maintenance for the 2019 season. The RFP was posted on the library's website, emailed to local contractors listed on the Clarkston, Waterford, and Lake Orion Chambers of Commerce, and shared with other libraries who might like to provide it to their contractor. The deadline was Thursday, April 11th at 5 p.m. The library received 3 bids that have been included and summarized in the packet, and I will provide a review of those proposals. In terms of budgetary, lawn maintenance is a budgeted item. However, Independence Township DPW was providing an excellent price for this service. The 2019 budget was written with the DPW pricing structure in mind. That was before we knew DPW couldn't do it this year. The standard pricing from private contractors is higher, so a budget adjustment will be needed to cover lawn maintenance this year. But the 2020 budget is being written taking this into consideration. And the recommendation is that we wouldn't make a budget adjustment until later in the year so that we kind of wait and know how much it is. So in your packet, I gave you a brief summary, but then I've had a conversation with the lead custodian, and Mickey and I talked about it a little bit as well. So at your place, I gave you a legal size piece of paper as well that has an extended summary. So that would be this one right here. And what I did, the company that picked up our contract at the end of, or beginning of August last year when DPW had to step out, said that he would complete, he didn't say he would do spring cleanup, he said he would complete the fall cleanup. In other words, it snowed before he got a chance to do fall cleanup. So he said he would come back and he would do spring. So we didn't actually put in the RFP a requirement for spring cleanup. But 2 of the contractors gave us spring cleanup prices anyway.
Okay.
So we have spring cleanup, fall cleanup, and a per mow lawn cutting. And then each one of them in their quote gave you an estimate total, which was spring cleaning plus fall cleaning plus 1 week of lawn cutting. And that was kind of their estimate. So if you look at that, the low bid would be Dale Graves at $950. If you look at it more closely though, Michigan Outdoor Services, their per mow each week would be $149. Green Blade is $217, and Dale's is $250. Now Dale's is high because he's suggesting that he would do 2 edgings per month. Our standard is to do, we basically do 2 edgings per year. We do an edging at the beginning of the summer, and then we do an edging right before the garden walk, and we're not a golf course, so that seems to be sufficient for us. So I think doing all that edging is a little bit of overkill. But, that's what he put in his price. So the other thing, I thought, well, let's go in and look at the number of weeks that we would need to do this. And Dale had said 35. That seems like a lot. So I did an estimate of May 1st through October 31st, which is 27 weeks. So what I did on this spreadsheet is I took their per mow and I multiplied it by 27 weeks. So for Michigan Outdoor Services at 149, that came out to 4,023. For Green Blade at 217, that came out to 5,859. And for Dale at 250, that came out to 6,750. Okay. So the next thing I did, if you go down to where it says estimated season totals, I took the spring cleanup plus the fall cleanup plus the 27-week mowing estimate to get an estimated season total. So that actually flips the low bids, or the bid order. Michigan, because of that expense in per week, Michigan Outdoor Services, if you take spring cleanup plus fall cleanup plus the 27 weeks, it comes out to 5,158 as an estimate for the season. Green Blade, their fall cleanup was very high at 868, and then if you add their 27 week, their total was 6,727.
That's without a spring clean?
That's without a spring cleanup. Yep. And then Dale's was 250 for spring, 450 for fall. And then with the 27 weeks at 6,750, the total was 7,450. So now the low bid is different. So we have a couple of things I also wanted to point out that that Arlene and I noticed as we were discussing this. As I said, Dale is including 2 edgings per month, which I think is excessive in our situation. Michigan Outdoor Services said that they would do lawn cutting on Wednesday afternoon. Green Blade said that they would do the lawn cutting on Tuesday morning before we open, which would be lovely because we actually have children's programs during the week, and sometimes they're outside. So
I wondered about the Wednesday afternoon, how that would work out, because especially during the summer, you're out there a lot with the kids.
Yeah. So that's it. I don't know if that makes it, if that changes your thoughts on whether or not it's worth an extra cost.
Is it negotiable?
Well, this is a bid process, so I didn't call and do any negotiations. I just kind of went with what they said.
Sure.
In terms of Green Blade, Green Blade actually is familiar with our property. The garden club hires them to help them with cleaning up their flower beds. So while his fall cleanup is high, I think it might be accurate to the expectations of the cleanup of our property, because he's done it before essentially. So while the other ones I'm worried might be a little bit low.
Which then means that next year they would want a contract adjustment.
Yeah.
Right. Or the cleanup might not be done to the same scale that it has been done in the
Exactly.
past.
So then are we paying the facilities company to come in and do the rest, or do we have to negotiate out some additional work or that kind of thing?
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. So so we didn't come in with a recommendation, we came in with some discussion points to talk to you about. As I said, I think it's important to look at the estimated season totals in terms of the bid process.
Well, because then you're comparing apples to apples.
I think it's an apples to apples comparison, yep. The one that's a little bit of an outlier is there's no spring cleanup on the Green Blade. We could subtract that out and just compare the other ones.
Right.
That does definitely raise up Green Blade comparatively speaking. So.
It still leaves them in the middle though.
Yep.
I mean, assuming that because you're only subtracting.
545 to 1 and 250 from the
Yeah,
other,
so.
yeah.
Do you think that Green Blade did not put in the spring cleanup because they assumed that the garden club was?
No, we actually, RFP didn't ask for one. It specifically didn't because Dale picked up the contract at the end of last season and he said he was going to do it. So our RFP, I don't know if you'll remember, I mentioned in the meeting, the RFP said we're only asking for fall cleanup, but everybody put in spring and fall. Yeah, we specifically didn't ask for it. So he's actually the only one who followed directions. Technically speaking.
Did Dale, he did the fall cleanup last year, correct?
He did. He didn't get it fully completed before.
Most places didn't because.
Yeah, exactly, which is why, but then again, now that we're going through the bid process, I'm not sure if he doesn't get the contract, how he's going to feel about finishing up that.
If he's going to want to come back
Yeah.
and finish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to lay it out there and be honest, I'm not sure he's going to want to do that, so that's why I went ahead and
Well,
put this spring
that would
cleanup
make
up for
sense.
discussion.
You don't get the bid, you
Yeah.
don't want to come back and do any work.
Yeah,
I think that's normal for any business.
But then that would mean that if we chose Green Blade, we would then need to
negotiate that out.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
spring cleanup, which
Yep.
actually puts them very high.
It
Yeah.
does, it does.
Well, if you take out the spring cleaning for Michigan Outdoor Service, it's 4613, if my math is correct. And then you're comparing 4613 with Green Blade, which is 6727, and then Dale Graves, you take out the 250 for the spring clean, and you've got 7200.
Yeah.
So Green Blade and Dale are comparable. They're 500, just about almost exactly $500 apart. The other is $2,000 less. It's a huge
Yeah,
difference.
it is a very sizable difference.
It is a sizable difference.
But again, you got to take into consideration, is it realistic? You know, and the other thing is you've got Wednesday PM. If we can't use it on the date that they're offering, if they're not going to do what we need them to do.
They could, the thing that we would trip over is Wednesday afternoon would be fine most of the time, but we would have to then call them and negotiate out different times if we have a program planned. But then again, if it rains, that happens as well. They're going to come on a different day. So.
Sure.
They are the company that is currently doing our snow plowing, and they gave us good service all season, so we have no complaints there.
There's no, I mean, with $2,000, that's a large chunk
It is a large chunk.
to look at.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, as long as it's not that the Wednesday afternoon is going to be a problem every week,
No.
you know, the
And perhaps maybe they will be willing right from the get-go not to do Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
To pick a different.
And like I said, Wednesday afternoon wasn't a deal breaker. It was just that we're going to need to talk to them. They're going to be at least a couple of weeks when Wednesday afternoon isn't going to be ideal. And we'll have to just see if they could trade us with somebody else, you know.
I would think that the company could do that. They probably might be used to that even.
I would think so. I would think so.
yeah, because it's not,
They've been pretty easygoing in terms of salting and snow plowing. I mean, we've called them a few times and asked for an extra salt, asked for an extra plow, even though it wasn't up to the appropriate limit, our 2-inch limit or whatever we would call and say, we've got a program and we feel like it's getting salty, can you come out and you just come and do what we need them to do. So they've been really nice about it.
Michigan Outdoor Service.
so we're getting good service from them already. They're
Yeah.
substantially lower, and
They're professional and they're fast.
yeah,
I'm gonna give them that
and
much
while
right
they have quoted, you know, what you think might be a little bit low on the spring and fall cleanup, they're not outrageously low.
there. No, they're not.
So my inclination would be probably to go ahead and accept them as the low bidder and hope that we would be able to work with them on the scheduling when it is an issue. And like you said, they have been good about that with the snow plowing, so unless they're so busy with mowing that they can't possibly accommodate that, it seems like they would still continue to be reasonable.
Well, and our grass doesn't grow so bad. We don't water like some places do.
No,
We also
so actually if we had to
fertilize.
skip a week,
We have skipped a
Right.
week before and it's not been a crisis.
There are many times during the hotter months, sometimes we go through the very dry spells and really there's not much to cut.
And you want it longer, otherwise it'll burn the grass.
Right.
And we've had, and Mickey and I had a conversation about that as well. She was asking about, how much do we fertilize and how much do we irrigate? And I do tell people, we're not a golf course. So, we keep the grass nice, we keep it green because we take the kids out there and whatever, but we try not to be too overly crazy about it because really the service is the library and most of what's in the building as opposed to.
and because
outside.
it's quoted as a per mow, if for some reason the mow
Right.
doesn't happen, then that's just a little bit more money that we've saved.
Right.
Indeed.
So,
Works for me.
okay. Well, in that case, then I would move that we accept Michigan Outdoor Service as our lawn maintenance contractor.
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept Michigan Outdoor Service as our lawn maintenance contractor. All in favor, is there any more discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes.
Thank you.
We recommend Michigan Outdoor Service as our lawn maintenance contractor. And thank you, Julie.
Yeah, it was helpful
More
having,
discussion
it
and
was,
Arlene.
it was helpful having the
Oh,
quote
yes.
broken out both ways.
Yep.
And
And the more we talked about it, the more we realized it wasn't as simple as it looked on paper. So.
Sometimes it's not.
It's not. No,
No,
it's not. And I wanted you to have all of the information before you made a decision.
And I appreciate the good information, and thank Arlene for us too.
I will. I will.
That's
We're working very well together on these projects.
very good.
Yeah. Okay.
Next on our agenda, we have discussion about the fire suppression system, which we already heard a
Always,
little
we
bit about.
already alluded to this, yes. On Thursday, April 4th at around 1:30, as I mentioned before, the fire alarm went off, so we evacuated the building and called 911. And the fire department shut down the system, located the leak, drained the pipes, kind of same thing I said before. The lead custodian and I have been discussed the issues with the fire suppression system and also with the fire marshal and the fire inspector, then conducted a conference call with the fire suppression company to discuss exactly what's needed to be included in the quote to adequately repair and upgrade the system. This is not a budgeted item, but is a necessary repair that is being guided by the fire marshal and the fire inspector to ensure that the necessary corrections are being included. So what I wanted to give you a chance to have some discussion a little bit about what it is that they're wanting to do. So we all know that this is an ongoing problem, and we asked the fire suppression company to address things. And they had a consultant come out and he looked at the system and he did identify a lot of issues with the system because it's old technology. It's from 25 years ago, and it's getting older, it's getting tired. The fire marshal's feeling when I talked to him about it was that the fire suppression company was a little reluctant to tell us what really needed to be done because it would be so expensive. It's not uncommon for business to do sort of a bare necessity and maybe not do what needs to be done.
That makes business sense.
Yep. So the fire marshal said, do I need to go in and talk to your board and convince them how important this is? And I said, no, that's not who this board is. They already have said, when we talked about this the last time, we want it fixed. So he said, well, then what I need to do is sit down with you and the fire suppression company and make it clear that I'm not approving your system as okay until they fix this list of items. So that's what we have here. These are his minimum fixes. So it's still relatively cost effective, but at the same time meets the standards of what he wants. So the first thing that he wants done is a source cap. I had to ask what that was, so I'm going to give you the same little education that I got. There is a most buildings that are older like ours, coming out of the building there's a Y-shaped set of pipes that when a fire starts, they hook up the fire truck to it so it forces water into the fire suppression system to help it so that the water pressure, you've got multiple sprinklers going, the water pressure in the building may not be enough to flood enough water, so they do that. The Y-shaped ones are old technology. The new, I don't know if you've gone over to the fire department at any point or when they allow you to get up onto the fire trucks at various events to see what they do, they have 4-inch hoses now, these great big hoses, and that's what they want coming out of the side of our building. So that's the first thing he wants done. He wants that Y taken off and the big 4-inch put on. He said if anything happens to this building, he wants to be able to hook up easily and stop it since we're a building full of paper. Mm-hmm. The other thing that he was very concerned about when the system, so basically the system armed, we have a dry system, so there's air in the pipes. When it arms, it fills with water. When they discovered there wasn't fire, they needed to drain it out. So when they drain it out, all the water is supposed to go, apparently our pipes are not pitched in the direction they should be. So when they went to drain it, instead of some of the water going this way and some of the water going that way, all of the water went this way and it flooded our mechanical room. So we didn't have a fire on the 4th, we had a flood. It was a fairly isolated flood and we didn't have a lot of damage because it was in the mechanical room, but he said that needs to be fixed. He's recommending, instead of the expense of repitching the pipes, which you may remember we had kind of asked them how much that would cost and they didn't really do it, he is recommending an upgrade on the drain itself so that it drains faster. So that's what he has agreed with the fire suppression company is an appropriate fix for this. The final thing, when they went to deal with the system itself, there are supposed to be 2 gauges, one that is the air pressure and one that is the water pressure. The air pressure gauge is fully visible, but the water pressure gauge, whoever installed it on the back side of a massive pipe, and I think the only person that could get back there to see it would probably be Spider-Man, because you'd have to crawl up underneath this pipe in order to be able to see it. And he actually told the fire suppression company it wasn't there, and they insisted that it was. So then when the guy came out from the fire suppression company, he's like, oh yeah, it's there, but he would have to have some sort of a camera on a, yeah. So anyway.
I wonder what happened the day that was put on there. To make it-
Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, he is requiring that they take that off and reinstall it in such a way that you can see both at the same time so that you can know what's going on in the system. And those are the main things. And then of course, he wants the whole system pressurized and tested and make sure that every single little leak is repaired. And essentially what happened, what the fire suppression company said to us and what the fire marshal said to us is that we had a lot of small repairs or small fixes done about a month or so ago, a couple of months ago. Okay. So one of the things that had been happening was they were slow leaks, and so the compressor was allowing the pressure to drop. And so they fixed all the leaks, the compressor was able to repressurize the whole system, and after about 4 to 6 weeks, we found other weak points. Because it was so high pressure that we found the next round of weak points that needed to be repaired. So there is a main pipe through the middle that they're going to replace, and they're going to pressurize the whole system and look for any more weak points that we've missed. So that's the whole thing, and the total comes to 6,000, wait, I have it highlighted on here, $6,564.02. Not sure what the 2 cents are for, but that was the total that he came up with. So basically at this point, since it's not a budgeted item, we need to make a budget adjustment for it. It would be appropriate for you to approve this quote since it's specialty work. And then what I would recommend is a budget adjustment of $6,600 from fund balance to 975 building to make this bigger.
What's the budget? What's the line?
975 building.
I'm glad that when the fire alarm went off, that it wasn't anything major. Also, thank you to the staff that.
They did a great job. Actually, I was really proud of them. It was kind of a cold day. People were a little chilly out there because we evacuated quickly. Not everybody had a coat. But the patrons were really nice about it. They understood. We had a room full of, it was spring break week, so we had a room full of kids. They knew exactly what to do. They got up and just walked out. They were very well prepared. We have a lot of false alarms though, and so the staff was like, okay, do we need to evacuate? I'm like, let's get out. It's a fire alarm. Let's just go and let the firemen and the big appropriate equipment and all of that go in and make sure. So.
I'm just curious, they evacuated everybody across the sidewalk, across the island. Right?
Yep, yep. And in this case, we knew there was no smoke. Our building is a really open floor plan, so if there was a fire, you probably know about it pretty quickly. So that was one of the reasons I was concerned, because the fire alarm was going off, and I thought, okay, either somebody pulled one of the, from one of the panels, or we might have a fire behind a closed door. So, you know, that's why I said to the staff, let's get out. We don't want to go looking for it and open a door and then have, you know.
No,
so
right. Exactly.
We evacuated the building. Even though we knew we had some issues with the fire suppression system and some things like that, I'm like, no, get out, let the firemen do it. They're dressed for it. So,
good call.
Yeah, so no, they did a great job.
Yes.
But we have
it's surprising sometimes how people will react. I can remember years ago somebody calling when I was working at DPW in Pontiac, somebody calling and saying, well, we smell smoke at the community center. I'm like, why are you calling me? Call the fire department. Yeah. Well, we weren't, no, call the fire department right now. Let them deal with it.
Yeah, and it went very smoothly. We called, you know, we got everybody out of the building, called 911 on the way out the door, and then Tyco, or Johnson Controls at this point, the company that does the alarm, the first thing they do is call the building to see if we're okay, and we didn't answer, so then they call myself. So I answered the phone and they said, you know, we're getting a fire alarm. I'm like, yep, send the fire department. So they got called twice, but they were here very, very quickly. Took really good care of us, made sure everything was okay. So that was all good. And then once we were out of the building, our system by which we can look up the staff roster online worked really well. We grabbed it up on a phone, you know, did a nose count, made sure everybody got out. It was a good opportunity for the staff to have that. There were a couple of people on staff who said, I don't know that I've ever heard that alarm before. We have plenty of bells and whistles in this building that go off, and that was the first time that we'd heard that one in a really long time. I think we had some new people that hadn't ever heard it. So.
It all worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out.
And it also brought to light the problems of the suppression.
Yeah.
So we
Right, and as you commented earlier, this is a building full of paper.
Yes, it is.
And without that paper, a big part of our mission is hard to fulfill.
It
So,
is. Yep.
there's no question that we need to do whatever we can do to protect the assets and the library users.
Well, and one of the things that I'd like to reassure the board about, when talking to the fire marshal and the fire inspector, it was very reassuring when I talked to the fire marshal and I said, well, if you're going to basically disconnect our fire suppression system, do you want us to occupy the building around the clock? And he said, I don't think that's necessary, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. You don't occupy your house around the clock. And he said the other reason is the fire inspector just told me that you guys are doing a really good job of fire prevention, and he's confident that your building is in good shape. So he said, I think it'll be okay for a period of time. However, we are on fire watch, which means if the fire alarm goes off, we evacuate and we call 911 no matter what, just in case, because we're having this communication problem between the fire suppression system and the alarm system, because the fire suppression system is out of whack at the moment, that we're calling 911 to make sure that, that somebody's coming, just to be sure, in case that system fails. And then the other thing that we're doing, the fire department, is making sure that somebody sweeps the parking lot a couple of times and just takes an eye, looks at the building at night and makes sure we're doing okay. So everybody's got our back.
And that's good.
That's good.
I'm glad to hear that, because it's, it would be a horrible thing.
It would be. It would be. It was a heart-wrenching moment when the fire alarm went off. Like, oh, that every library director's worst nightmare.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. Because it's either going to be the smoke or the water that's going to damage something.
Right. Either way,
Yep. And we fared really well. It ended up being a flood, but it was all isolated in one room, and it ended up being okay. So we were lucky.
We were lucky. Is there any more discussion on this?
No.
Any questions or anything?
No, so I'll move that we approve the quote from Fire Systems of Michigan to make the proposed repairs and approve a budget adjustment of $6,600 from fund balance to 975 building to pay for said repairs.
Beautifully said. I'd written it down, but not that well. I second.
It's been moved and seconded that to approve the quote from Fire Systems of Michigan to make the proposed repairs, and also to approve a budget adjustment of $6,600 from fund balance to building. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion
Did
carries.
they give you an idea as to how quickly they could do it once it was approved?
Actually, yes, they are going to do it on Friday while we're closed for Good Friday.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Yep, I already made arrangements for them to do that, because they're going to do a big pipe right down the middle. And they were like, well, when are you closed next? I said, Friday. And they're like, we're there. Because it's not a holiday for them, so it's only going to cost us extra.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
That's good.
And Arlene was already going to be in the building for something else, so we're going to do a little bit of choreography and get 2 things done at the same time. So
Very
all good.
All right. That concludes our agenda for the evening, and we don't have Dan here tonight.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay. It has been moved to adjourn the meeting and seconded. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the meeting is adjourned at 6:43.